Do you like traveling?
Absolutely. I adore traveling because it offers a fantastic break from my usual routine and broadens my perspective on different cultures. Exploring new places and trying local cuisines is truly exciting and revitalizes me whenever I get the opportunity.
What is the most interesting place you have ever visited?
The most fascinating place I've been to is Kyoto, Japan. I loved it because of the serene temples, the traditional wooden architecture, and the beautiful, meticulously maintained gardens. It felt like stepping back in time, offering a deep sense of calm and history.
How often do you travel?
I generally travel at least 2 or 3 times a year, usually taking one longer trip for a vacation and a couple of shorter weekend getaways throughout the region. I try to plan these trips to coincide with public holidays or my annual leave.
Do you prefer traveling alone or with others?
I definitely prefer traveling with a small group of close friends or family. While solo travel has its merits, I find that sharing the new experiences, discussing sights, and creating memories together makes the entire journey much more enjoyable and rewarding.
Where would you like to travel to in the future?
I am determined to visit Iceland someday, primarily to witness the northern lights and explore the unique landscapes. I'm particularly drawn to its dramatic volcanoes, hot springs, and expansive, rugged wilderness, which look completely breathtaking in pictures. The time I was completely disoriented was during a holiday in Venice, Italy, a couple of years ago, and I remember it clearly because Venice is inherently confusing. I had spent the entire morning exploring the main tourist avenues, but in the afternoon, I decided to venture far away from the busy Rialto Bridge and St. Mark's Square, intentionally seeking out a quiet, authentic neighborhood called Cannaregio. My goal was to find a small, hidden Baccaro, which is a local wine bar that had been recommended by a resident, which meant leaving the well-trodden routes and diving deep into the city's intricate network of narrow, winding alleys, known as Cali. What happened next was a classic case of overconfidence meeting Venetian architecture. These narrow streets are incredibly tight, and crucially, they all look almost identical, with frequent sudden turns and dead ends opening onto tiny canals. I made a series of turns, thinking I was successfully following my mental compass, but the sheer lack of distinctive landmarks quickly led me astray. Suddenly, my phone lost signal entirely, and the battery was unfortunately almost depleted, rendering my digital maps useless in that moment. After about 20 minutes of what felt like successful wandering, I came to the stark realization that I couldn't remember which bridge I had crossed last or, more worryingly, which direction I had originally come from. Every pale stucco wall and identical doorway seemed to mock my directionless state. Initially, I felt a kind of thrilling frustration, believing I was simply having an authentic explorer's experience, but this quickly shifted. As the late afternoon light began to fade and the alleyways became completely deserted, a genuine sense of panic started to creep in. I felt incredibly isolated, realizing how easy it would be to spend hours trapped in that maze with no obvious street signs or locals to ask for help. It was a profoundly humbling moment, feeling completely reliant on technology only to find myself utterly defeated by the ancient medieval city design. My heart started to race slightly, and the silence of the hidden part of Venice, usually charming, suddenly felt quite oppressive. Eventually, I knew I had to stop moving aimlessly and change my strategy. I kept walking for a few more minutes until I thankfully spotted a small, brightly lit cafe nestled in a tiny campo, which is a small square, and decided to ask for help. They very kindly offered me access to their public Wi-Fi. I used this critical opportunity not to call anyone, but to load a detailed local map on my phone and let it cache for offline use. Once the map successfully loaded and I could pinpoint my current location on that tiny square, I recognized a very distinctive tall church spire just a short distance away. By using that highly visible spire as my physical guiding beacon and then following the digital path back to the busy Grand Canal, I was able to successfully navigate out of the bewildering labyrinth and back to the recognizable main center of the city, immensely relieved and definitely much wiser about navigating without relying solely on a mobile signal.
Do you think the increase in international tourism has more positive or negative effects on the environment?
That's a complex issue because modern international tourism presents both significant opportunities and deep challenges for the environment. On the positive side, tourism revenue can be a powerful financial incentive for local governments to protect natural areas, such as creating national parks or marine reserves, ensuring that the ecosystems remain intact because they are economically valuable assets. This funding can be vital for conservation efforts and for the sustainable management of fragile environments. However, the negative impacts are often much more pronounced and widespread. The sheer volume of air travel required for global tourism is a massive contributor to carbon emissions, directly fueling climate change. Furthermore, high concentrations of tourists in sensitive areas lead to increased waste generation, pollution of water sources, and direct damage to delicate habitats, especially coastal regions and coral reefs. While economic benefits can fund localized protection, the overarching environmental cost, primarily driven by long-haul transportation and infrastructure development, seems to outweigh the localized benefits, posing a serious threat to global sustainability.
In what ways has technology, such as mobile apps and the internet, changed how people plan and experience their holidays?
Technology has fundamentally revolutionized both the planning and the experience of modern holidays, giving unprecedented control to the individual traveler. The planning phase has shifted entirely from travel agents to online platforms. People now have immediate access to compare flights, accommodation, and tours globally, ensuring they can customize their trip to match their exact budget and interests. Booking is instantaneous, and researching local activities, reviews, and cultural norms is done effortlessly through comprehensive travel blogs and forums. During the trip itself, mobile applications like translation tools, offline maps, and ride-sharing services eliminate many of the traditional anxieties of being in a foreign country. Moreover, social media plays a huge role in the experience, allowing travelers to document and share their journey in real time. This connectivity, however, sometimes diminishes the sense of true escape, as people remain tethered to their digital lives even while exploring remote locations, subtly changing the nature of a relaxing vacation.
What are the key differences between traveling for business and traveling for leisure, and how does the purpose affect the experience?
The fundamental difference between business and leisure travel lies in the underlying objective, and this distinction profoundly shapes the entire experience. Leisure travel is driven by personal choice, relaxation, and cultural exploration, allowing for flexibility in itinerary, accommodation preference, and time management. The focus is on discovery and enjoyment, meaning the traveler actively seeks out local experiences, museums, or natural beauty spots. Conversely, business travel is entirely goal-oriented, centered around meetings, conferences, or specific professional tasks. The experience is highly structured, dictated by efficiency, tight schedules, and often standardized corporate hotels near airports or convention centers. While a leisure traveler seeks authenticity and novelty, the business traveler prioritizes convenience and connectivity. Consequently, a leisure trip is about absorbing the destination, whereas a business trip is primarily about using the location as a backdrop to achieve a professional objective, often leaving little time to truly experience the city itself.
Do you believe it is more beneficial for young people to travel independently or as part of an organized tour group?
I strongly believe that for young people, traveling independently offers significantly more long-term developmental benefits than participating in an organized tour group, though each has its place. Independent travel forces young adults to confront and overcome logistical challenges, such as navigating public transport in a foreign language or managing unexpected budgeting issues, which are invaluable life skills. This necessity to be self-reliant dramatically boosts confidence, critical thinking, and adaptability, fostering true maturity. In contrast, an organized tour provides a highly curated, comfortable, and risk-mitigated experience where all decisions are made by the guide, minimizing the need for problem-solving or deep cultural interaction. While tour groups are efficient for seeing key landmarks, independent travel facilitates a much deeper, more personal, and often more challenging immersion into the local culture, creating memories and skills that are far more transformative and beneficial for a person's growth.
How significant a role does a country's national history or heritage play in attracting international tourists?
A country's national history and heritage play an absolutely pivotal role in attracting and sustaining international tourism, acting as one of the primary unique selling points for any destination. Historical sites, ancient ruins, and traditions provide a narrative that gives a place context and depth beyond its scenic beauty or modern amenities. Tourists are increasingly seeking experiences that educate and connect them to the past, viewing cultural heritage as a form of intangible treasure. For example, iconic historical landmarks like the Great Wall of China or the Roman Colosseum serve as potent symbols that instantly trigger a desire to travel, drawing millions of visitors who want to physically witness these testaments to human civilization. Furthermore, the preservation of heritage, including traditional cuisine, music, and festivals, allows tourists to engage with the living culture, transforming a simple visit into a meaningful journey of historical discovery. Without this rich historical narrative, many destinations would struggle to differentiate themselves in the highly competitive global tourism market.